Benjamin Martin was the nightmare of Aroma Coffee Kitchen. When his shiny black car pulled up outside, the staff would peek through the window and their stomachs would drop. When he walked through the door, people stopped talking. When he sat down at his favorite table, everyone held their breath. No one dared to stand up to him. No one ever talked back. No one even looked him in the eye for too long. Until one day, a new waitress did something that left the whole cafe absolutely stunned. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Florida? United Kingdom? Maybe South Africa or Jamaica? We want to know. Once upon a time, in a big city with tall buildings that touched the clouds and streets that were always busy with cars and people, there was a small cafe called Aroma Coffee Kitchen. It sat on the corner of Maple Street, right between a flower shop and a bookstore. The cafe wasn't fancy. The tables were a bit old. The chairs didn't all match. The paint on the walls was starting to fade. But it smelled wonderful, like fresh coffee, warm bread, and cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. It was the kind of place that felt like home. The cafe was owned by a man named James Thompson. James was 52 years old with gray hair and tired eyes that still knew how to smile. He had owned the cafe for 15 years and he loved it with all his heart. But lately things had been very hard. Money was tight. Bills kept piling up on his desk. The rent kept going up. Fewer customers were coming in. And James worried every single night about how he was going to keep his cafe open. But James wasn't alone. He had his workers, people who had become like family to him. There was Priscilla, a grandmother with silver hair and the warmest hugs. She had worked at the cafe for 12 years and baked the best muffins anyone had ever tasted. There was Clara, a young woman with curly brown hair who dreamed of becoming a teacher one day. She was shy and nervous, but she worked hard and never complained. And there was Lucas, a tall, skinny young man with glasses that were always sliding down his nose. He was studying at the community college and worked at the cafe to pay for his books. These three people were more than just employees to James. They were his friends. They helped each other. They laughed together. They shared their problems and their dreams. But there was one person who made their lives miserable. His name was Benjamin Martin. Benjamin Martin was the richest man in the neighborhood. Maybe the richest man in the whole city. He was 50 years old and owned companies, buildings, and fancy cars. He wore suits that cost thousands of dollars. His watch probably cost more than James made in a whole year. He had more money than he could ever spend in his lifetime. But money hadn't made Benjamin happy. It had made him mean. Benjamin was a bully. Not the kind of bully who pushes you on the playground. No, he was the kind of bully who used his money and power to make people feel small and scared. He yelled at people in public. He called them stupid. He threatened to take them to court and sue them for everything they had. He would make workers cry, then smile while he watched them wipe their tears. And his favorite place to be mean? Aroma Coffee Kitchen. Every Tuesday morning at exactly 10 o'clock, Benjamin would walk into the cafe like a dark storm cloud. He would sit at table 3 by the window. He would order black coffee and a plain bagel. And he would find something, anything, to complain about. The coffee was too hot. Or too cold. Or not strong enough. Or too strong. The bagel was too toasted. Or not toasted enough. Or cut wrong. The service was too slow. Or the waiters were too pushy. It didn't matter what anyone did. Benjamin always found fault. And when he did, he would threaten to sue. He would say he'd call his lawyers. He would promise to destroy the cafe and everyone who worked there. James and his workers had learned to just be quiet and take it. What else could they do? Benjamin had money for lawyers. They didn't. Benjamin could afford to go to court. They couldn't. One lawsuit could destroy everything James had worked for. So they walked on eggshells every Tuesday. They spoke in whispers. They tried to be perfect. They hoped Benjamin would just drink his coffee and leave without causing too much trouble. But hope doesn't always work out the way we want it to. And today, this particular Tuesday morning, was about to become the day that changed everything. Because James had a daughter named Isabella. Isabella Thompson was 23 years old. She had dark hair that she wore in a simple ponytail, bright brown eyes, and a smile that made everyone feel calm. She had just finished college and was trying to figure out what to do with her life. She had studied business, but she wasn't sure what kind of job she wanted yet. Why don't you come work at the cafe for a while? James had suggested last week. Just until you figure things out. I could use the extra help and it would be nice to spend more time together. Isabella had agreed. She'd worked at the cafe during summer breaks when she was younger, so she knew how to make coffee and serve customers. Plus, she missed seeing her dad every day. Today was her first day back. Isabella had woken up early feeling excited. She put on black pants, a white shirt, and the cafe's green apron with Aroma Coffee Kitchen written on it in yellow letters. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. First day, she said to her reflection. Let's make it a good one. She had no idea what was waiting for her. When Isabella walked into the cafe at 9:30 that morning, her father was already there, preparing for the day. Good morning, Dad, she said cheerfully, giving him a big hug. James hugged her back, but Isabella noticed he seemed tense. His shoulders were tight. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Good morning, sweetie. Ready for your first day? Absolutely. Just tell me what to do. Well, James said slowly, there's something I need to warn you about first. Before he could say more, Priscilla came out from the kitchen carrying a tray of fresh muffins. Her face lit up when she saw Isabella. Isabella. Oh, it's so good to have you here. She set down the tray and gave Isabella a warm hug. Your father has told us so much about you finishing college. We're so proud. Thank you, Priscilla, Isabella said, smiling. Clara and Lucas came over too, and everyone made Isabella feel welcome. But she noticed something strange. Everyone seemed nervous. They kept glancing at the clock. They kept looking at the door. Is everything okay? Isabella asked. The cafe fell quiet. James took a deep breath. Isabella, there's someone who comes here every Tuesday. A customer named Benjamin Martin. He's difficult. Difficult how? Clara spoke up, her voice soft. He's really mean, Isabella. He yells. He threatens to sue us. He makes people cry. He made me cry just last week, Priscilla added quietly. He said my muffins tasted like cardboard and threatened to report us to the health department. There was nothing wrong with my muffins. Lucas pushed his glasses up. He's the worst person I've ever met. And he has so much money that we can't do anything about it. We just have to take it. Isabella's eyes narrowed. Take it? You mean you just let him be mean to you? James put a hand on his daughter's shoulder. Isabella, I know how you are. I know you don't like bullies. But this is different. Benjamin Martin isn't just some guy being rude. He's powerful. He's dangerous. One wrong word and he could sue us and take everything. The cafe, our savings, everything. So when he comes in. James paused, looking his daughter in the eyes. When he comes in, just smile, be polite, and don't, under any circumstances, talk back to him. Please. Isabella looked at her father's worried face. She looked at Priscilla's sad eyes. She looked at Clara and Lucas, who both looked scared. Something in her chest felt hot and angry. She didn't like bullies. She had never liked bullies. And she especially didn't like bullies who picked on good people like her father and his friends. But she loved her father, and she didn't want to cause him trouble on her very first day. Okay, Dad, she said. I understand. James looked relieved. Thank you, sweetheart. He'll be here at 10 o'clock. Just stay in the background and let me or Priscilla handle him. Isabella nodded. But deep down she made a promise to herself. If this Benjamin Martin was as bad as everyone said, and if he tried to hurt anyone she cared about, well, she wasn't going to just stand there and let it happen. The clock on the wall ticked toward 10 o'clock. And in the distance, a shiny black car was driving down Maple Street, heading straight for Aroma Coffee Kitchen. At exactly 10 o'clock, the bell above the cafe door jingled. Everyone froze. Isabella was standing behind the counter, wiping down the coffee machine. She looked up and saw him walk in. Benjamin Martin. He moved like he owned the world. His shoes clicked loudly on the floor, click, 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 like a countdown timer. He wore a dark gray suit that looked like it had never had a single wrinkle. His black hair was slicked back perfectly. His face looked like it was carved from stone, hard, cold, and angry. But what struck Isabella most were his eyes. They were dark and empty, like looking into a deep hole. There was no kindness there. No warmth. Just coldness. He didn't say good morning. He didn't smile. He didn't even look at anyone directly. Table 3, he announced in a voice that expected to be obeyed immediately. Isabella watched as her father almost jumped. Yes, Mr. Martin. Right away, sir. Benjamin walked to his table by the window and sat down. He pulled out his phone but didn't look at it. Instead, his eyes scanned the cafe, looking at everything, judging everything. James hurried over with a menu, even though Benjamin never looked at the menu. Good morning, Mr. Martin, James said with a smile that looked painful. How are you today? Benjamin didn't answer. He didn't even look up. Can I get you your usual, sir? James asked. Obviously, Benjamin said flatly. Black coffee. Hot. Not warm. Actually hot. And a plain bagel, toasted for exactly 2 minutes. I assume you remember how to tell time. Isabella's hand stopped moving. Did he just insult her father? James's smile tightened, but he kept his voice pleasant. Of course, sir. Coming right up. As James walked back to the counter, Isabella could see his hands shaking slightly. Her father, her strong, kind father who had raised her by himself after her mother died, who had worked 2 jobs to put her through college, who had never said a mean word to anyone, was shaking because of this man. The hot feeling in Isabella's chest grew hotter. I'll make the coffee, Priscilla whispered, already moving toward the coffee machine. I'll do the bagel, Clara said quietly, dropping a bagel into the toaster and setting the timer. Isabella watched them move around like scared mice, trying to be quiet, trying to be invisible. Lucas was cleaning tables on the other side of the cafe, but she noticed he was purposely staying as far away from Benjamin as possible. Dad, Isabella whispered, why do you let him treat you like that? James looked at his daughter with tired eyes. Because I have to, sweetie. Because if I don't, we lose everything. But, please, Isabella. Not today. Just, stay here behind the counter. Let us handle it. The coffee finished brewing. Priscilla poured it into their nicest cup with hands that trembled just a little. The bagel popped up from the toaster. Clara put it on a plate and checked it carefully, perfectly toasted, exactly 2 minutes. I'll take it to him, Priscilla said, arranging everything on a tray. Isabella watched as Priscilla walked slowly across the cafe, carrying the tray like it held something precious and dangerous at the same time. She reached table 3 and set the cup and plate down gently in front of Benjamin. Your coffee and bagel, Mr. Martin, Priscilla said softly. Benjamin didn't look at her. He picked up the coffee cup and took a small sip. Everyone in the cafe seemed to hold their breath. Benjamin set the cup down. His face twisted into a scowl. This coffee is lukewarm, he said loudly. Priscilla blinked. I just made it fresh, sir. It should be. Are you arguing with me? Benjamin's voice got louder. Are you telling me I don't know the difference between hot and lukewarm? No, sir, This is unacceptable. Benjamin stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Everyone in the cafe turned to look. I come here every week. Every single week. And every single week, you people find new ways to disappoint me. Priscilla's eyes were getting watery. I'm so sorry, sir. I'll make you a fresh cup right away. You'll make me a fresh cup? Benjamin's voice dripped with sarcasm. How generous of you to fix your own mistake. Do you have any idea who I am? Do you know how much money I spend in this pathetic little cafe? Mr. Martin, James said, rushing over, please let me. You. Benjamin turned on James. This is your fault. You clearly don't train your staff properly. You hire incompetent people who can't perform the simplest tasks. My 10-year-old nephew could make better coffee than this. Isabella's fingernails dug into her palms. She was gripping the counter so hard her knuckles were turning white. I should shut this place down, Benjamin continued, his voice getting louder and meaner. I should call the health department. I should sue you for serving substandard products. I should. The coffee is fine, Isabella heard herself say. The entire cafe went silent. Everyone turned to look at her. James, Priscilla, Clara, Lucas, the customers, and Benjamin Martin himself. Isabella hadn't meant to speak. The words had just come out. But now that she'd started, she couldn't stop. She stepped out from behind the counter. Isabella, her father said in a warning voice. Don't. The coffee is fine, Isabella repeated, walking toward table 3. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. Priscilla made it fresh. I watched her. It's hot. You're just looking for something to complain about. Benjamin stared at her like she was an alien. Excuse me? Who are you? I'm Isabella. I work here. And I don't think you should talk to people that way. A strange expression crossed Benjamin's face, surprise mixed with anger. Clearly, no one had spoken to him like this in a very long time. You don't think? He let out a short, harsh laugh. You don't think I should talk to people this way? Do you have any idea who you're speaking to? Yes, Isabella said calmly. You're a customer. A rude customer. Gasps came from around the cafe. James looked like he might faint. Isabella, please? Benjamin's face was turning red. Rude? Rude? I am Benjamin Martin. I own half the buildings on this street. I have more money than you'll see in 10 lifetimes. I could buy this cafe and fire all of you before lunch. Money doesn't give you the right to be mean, Isabella said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was strong. Money doesn't make you better than other people. And having a lot of money definitely doesn't give you permission to make a kind grandmother cry just because you're having a bad day. Priscilla was staring at Isabella with wide eyes, tears still on her cheeks. Benjamin's jaw clenched. His hands were shaking, not with fear like everyone else's but with rage. You have no idea what you've just done. I will destroy this cafe. I will sue your father for everything he has. When I'm done with you people, you'll be living on the street. Then go ahead, Isabella said. She was scared. Her heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it, but she didn't back down. Sue us. Take us to court. But everyone here, all these customers, they heard what just happened. They heard you yelling at innocent people for no reason. They saw you trying to bully us. So if you want to sue us, we'll tell the judge exactly what kind of person you are. Benjamin's mouth opened, then closed. He looked around the cafe. Every single customer was watching him. Some were nodding at Isabella's words. Others were frowning at him with disapproval. For maybe the first time in years, Benjamin Martin didn't have complete control of the situation. His face went from red to almost purple. This isn't over, he said in a low, dangerous voice. Not even close. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. He grabbed his phone and his briefcase and stormed toward the door. The bell jingled violently as he yanked the door open and slammed it behind him. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, one customer started clapping. Then another. Then the whole cafe erupted in applause. That was amazing, someone shouted. About time someone stood up to him, another person called out. But Isabella wasn't smiling. She turned to look at her father. James's face was pale. His hands were trembling. He looked at his daughter with a mixture of pride and absolute terror. Isabella, he whispered, what have you done? The applause in the cafe slowly faded away. The customers went back to their coffee and conversations, still buzzing with excitement about what they just witnessed. But behind the counter the atmosphere was completely different. James led Isabella into the small office at the back of the cafe. Priscilla, Clara, and Lucas followed. Once the door was closed, James sat down heavily in his old desk chair and put his head in his hands. Dad, I'm sorry, Isabella started to say. I know you told me not to say anything, but... You don't understand, James said, his voice muffled by his hands. You don't understand what you've done. She stood up for us, Priscilla said quietly. No one has ever done that before. And now we'll pay the price, James said looking up. His eyes were red. Benjamin Martin doesn't make empty threats. When he says he'll destroy us, he means it. He has the money and the lawyers to do it. Isabella sat down on a wooden stool. The adrenaline that had carried her through the confrontation was starting to fade, and now reality was sinking in. What do you think he'll do? Lucas pushed his glasses up nervously. Last year he got angry at the dry cleaners down the street. He sued them for damaging one of his shirts, which wasn't even damaged. The case dragged on for months. They had to hire a lawyer they couldn't afford. Eventually they just closed down and moved away. Clara added, and remember the restaurant on 5th Street? The owner's son talked back to Benjamin once. Just once. Benjamin used his connections to get the health department to inspect them over and over again. Every week there was a new inspection, a new fine for tiny things. They went out of business within 3 months. Isabella felt her stomach drop. But that's not fair. That's not legal. You can't just... He can, James said tiredly. When you have enough money, you can do a lot of things that shouldn't be possible. You can hire expensive lawyers who know how to work the system. You can drag cases out until the other person runs out of money to fight back. You can use your connections to make life difficult in ways that seem legal on paper. The small office fell silent except for the distant sound of the coffee machine in the cafe. I'm sorry, Dad, Isabella whispered. I really am. I couldn't stand watching him treat you all like that. You're good people. You don't deserve it. James looked at his daughter, and despite his fear, his eyes softened. I know, sweetheart. You were brave. And part of me is proud of you for standing up to him. But the other part of me... He gestured around the office at the stacks of bills on his desk, at the calculator with numbers that didn't add up to enough. The other part of me is terrified about what comes next. Priscilla put a gentle hand on James's shoulder. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. That's right, Lucas said, trying to sound braver than he looked. We're a team. Clara nodded. Isabella did what all of us wanted to do. We can't be mad at her for that. James managed a small smile. I'm not mad. Just scared. A knock on the office door made everyone jump. It was Mrs. Garcia, one of the regular customers. James? Sorry to interrupt, but there's a man here asking for you. James's face went pale. Is it Benjamin Martin? No, it's someone else. He says his name is Kevin Williams. He says he works for Mr. Martin. Everyone exchanged worried glances. James stood up slowly. I'll talk to him. The rest of you stay here. Dad, I should come with you, Isabella said. This is my fault. No, stay here. Please. James walked out into the cafe. Isabella waited about 5 seconds before quietly following him. She stood just inside the doorway where she could see and hear but stay out of sight. A man in a neat brown suit stood by the counter. He was younger than Benjamin, maybe 35, with short black hair and kind eyes that looked worried. He held a briefcase in one hand. Mr. Thompson? The man asked. Yes. You said you work for Benjamin Martin? I'm Kevin Williams, Mr. Martin's personal assistant. I've worked for him for 7 years. Kevin looked around the cafe nervously, then lowered his voice. Can we talk somewhere private? James led him to a table in the corner, away from other customers. Isabella crept a little closer, hiding behind a tall plant near the doorway. Kevin set his briefcase on the table but didn't open it. Mr. Thompson, I'll be direct. Mr. Martin is furious about what happened this morning. I've worked for him for a long time and I've never seen him this angry. James swallowed hard. I understand. The waitress who spoke to him, that's my daughter. It was her first day. She didn't know. She was brave, Kevin interrupted. Then he looked around to make sure no one was listening and continued even more quietly. Mr. Thompson, I'm not supposed to be here. If Mr. Martin found out I was talking to you, I'd lose my job. But I felt like I needed to warn you. Warn me? Kevin leaned forward. Mr. Martin is planning to sue you. He's already called 3 different lawyers. He's talking about suing for emotional distress, hostile work environment, public humiliation. He's making up reasons that won't hold up in court, but that's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is to drown you in legal fees. To drag the case out so long that you run out of money to fight. To make your life so difficult that you just give up and close the cafe. Kevin's voice was sad. I've seen him do it before. To other people who couldn't afford to fight back. James closed his eyes. Why are you telling me this? If you work for him. Because I'm tired of watching him hurt people, Kevin said. I took this job because the pay was good and I needed to support my family. But over the years, I've watched Mr. Martin destroy lives for no reason except that he enjoys it. And he paused. I can't keep being part of it without at least trying to help the people he targets. Isabella felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this Kevin person could help them. Is there anything I can do? James asked desperately. Any way to stop this? Kevin thought for a moment. Apologize. Have your daughter apologize. Maybe if Mr. Martin feels like he won, like he got his revenge through humiliation, he'll let it go. James looked down at his hands. You want my daughter to apologize to a man who was being cruel? To say she was wrong when she wasn't? I know how it sounds. But pride won't save your cafe, Mr. Thompson. Sometimes survival means swallowing your pride. Behind the plant, Isabella felt torn. Part of her knew Kevin was right. An apology might make this all go away. But the other part of her remembered Priscilla's tears, remembered her father's shaking hands, remembered years of people being bullied and too afraid to fight back. Before James could respond, the cafe door burst open. 2 men in suits walked in carrying clipboards and cameras. One of them announced loudly, Health Department inspection. Everyone remained calm. James stood up quickly. Health inspection? But we just had one last month. We passed everything. Routine follow-up, one of the men said, though his tone suggested it wasn't routine at all. We've received a complaint about potential violations. Kevin looked at James with sad eyes. It's already started, he whispered. The health inspectors began walking around the cafe, looking at everything with intense scrutiny. They checked the temperature of the refrigerator. They examined the coffee machine. They inspected the bathrooms. They photographed everything. One inspector ran his finger along a windowsill and frowned at the microscopic amount of dust he found there. Unsatisfactory cleanliness, he muttered, writing something on his clipboard. That's ridiculous. Clara said. We clean that every day. Ma'am, please don't interfere with the inspection. They went into the kitchen. Isabella could hear them opening cabinets, checking dates on food packages, examining every corner. The customers in the cafe were starting to look uncomfortable. Some of them got up and left, not wanting to be part of whatever was happening. After 30 minutes, the inspectors came back out. One of them handed James a piece of paper. "You have 14 violations," he said. 14. James looked at the paper in shock. "But these are tiny things. A smudge on a window? A can of tomatoes that expires in 2 weeks instead of 3? These aren't real violations. They're all documented in the health code, sir. You have 72 hours to fix everything and schedule a reinspection. There's a fee for the reinspection." "How much?" $500. James looked like he'd been punched. $500 just to have you come back and check things you're making up? The inspector's face remained blank. "Have a good day, sir." They left. The cafe was silent. Kevin stood up slowly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. This is just the beginning. Tomorrow it might be the fire marshal. Next week, the building inspector. He'll keep sending people until you can't afford the fees anymore." James sank into a chair. His face had lost all its color. Isabella couldn't stay hidden anymore. She walked out from behind the plant and straight to her father's side. "Dad." "Not now, Isabella." "But Dad, we have to fight this. This isn't fair. This is. Life isn't fair." James's voice cracked. For the first time in Isabella's life, she heard her father sound truly defeated. Life isn't fair, and sometimes good people lose and there's nothing we can do about it. Tears started running down James's cheeks. He was crying. Her strong, brave father was crying. Isabella knelt down beside him and took his hands. "Then I'll apologize. I'll go to Benjamin Martin right now and apologize. I'll beg him to stop if that's what it takes." James shook his head. "It's too late for that now. You embarrassed him in public. He won't accept an apology. He wants revenge." Kevin picked up his briefcase. "I should go before anyone sees me here. I'm truly sorry I couldn't do more." He paused at the door. "For what it's worth, your daughter was right about everything she said. Benjamin Martin is a bully. He does use his money to hurt people. And someone should stand up to him." He looked at Isabella. "I just wish the cost wasn't so high for the people who do." After Kevin left, the cafe staff gathered around James. Priscilla was crying too. Clara and Lucas looked scared and helpless. "What are we going to do?" Lucas asked quietly. James looked at the violation notice in his hands. "We fix what they say is wrong. We pay the fee. We survive another day. And we just hope that Benjamin gets bored and moves on to torturing someone else." But in his voice, Isabella could hear that he didn't really believe that would happen. Outside the cafe window, dark clouds were gathering in the sky. The storm had only just begun. The next few days were the hardest Isabella had ever experienced. James and his staff worked from morning until late at night, fixing every single thing the health inspectors had written down. They scrubbed walls that were already clean. They organized shelves that were already organized. They threw away food that was still perfectly good just because it would expire in 2 weeks instead of 3. Isabella worked alongside them, feeling guilty with every passing hour. This was all her fault. If she had just kept quiet like her father asked, none of this would be happening. On Wednesday morning, a fire marshal showed up. He found 6 violations. Things like a fire extinguisher that was 3 inches too far from where it should be, or an exit sign that wasn't bright enough even though everyone could see it clearly. Another $500 fee. On Thursday, a building inspector came. He said the back door didn't meet current code standards, even though it was the same door that had been there for 15 years. Another $800 to replace it. On Friday, Benjamin Martin's lawyer sent a letter. It was thick and official looking with fancy paper and a law firm's name printed at the top in gold letters. James opened it with shaking hands. Isabella stood beside him, reading over his shoulder. The letter said Benjamin was suing the cafe for $50,000. He claimed the cafe had caused him emotional distress and damaged his reputation. When James finished reading, he set the letter down on his desk very carefully as if it might explode. $50,000? He whispered. "We don't have $50,000. We don't even have $5,000. Isabella felt like she couldn't breathe. "Dad, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I should have just..." "No." James looked at his daughter. "You were right to stand up to him. You were brave. But now..." He gestured at the letter. "Now I don't know what to do." Priscilla came into the office. One look at their faces told her something was very wrong. "What happened?" James handed her the letter. Priscilla read it and her face went pale. "This is impossible. We can't pay this." "I know," James said quietly. "So what do we do?" James put his head in his hands. "I don't know. Maybe we have to close the cafe. Maybe we should just give up before he takes everything." "No." Isabella said loudly. Dad, we can't let him win like this. He's a bully. He's doing all of this just because I hurt his feelings. Sometimes bullies win, Isabella. Especially when they have money and power and we have nothing. Clara appeared in the doorway looking worried. James? There's a man here from the supply company. He says they can't deliver our coffee beans anymore. James looked up. What? Why not? He says someone called them and threatened them. Told them if they kept doing business with us, they'd lose their other contracts in the city. James closed his eyes. Benjamin. Lucas came running in next, his phone in his hand. James, I just got a call from our landlord. He says our rent is going up. Starting next month, it's double what we're paying now. Double? James stood up so fast his chair fell over. He can't do that. We have a lease. He says there's a clause that lets him raise rent if there are business concerns about the property. He mentioned the health violations, the inspections. Lucas trailed off. Everyone was quiet. Isabella felt tears burning in her eyes. Benjamin wasn't just attacking them with one lawsuit. He was attacking them from every direction at once. Suppliers, landlords, inspectors, lawsuits. He was using his money and connections to squeeze them from all sides. This is what he does, Priscilla said softly. This is how he destroys people. Slowly, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. James picked up his chair and sat back down. He looked older than Isabella had ever seen him. Tired, defeated. Maybe it's time to give up, he said quietly. Maybe we close the cafe before we lose everything. At least then we'd have something left. But Dad, Isabella said, this cafe is your life. You've worked here for 15 years. And maybe it's time for that to end. James's voice cracked. I can't fight him, Isabella. He has too much power. Too much money. We're just ordinary people. We don't stand a chance. Isabella looked around at everyone, her father, Priscilla, Clara, Lucas. They all looked so sad, so defeated, so hopeless. And in that moment, something inside Isabella changed. She had started this fight. She had stood up to Benjamin when everyone told her not to. And now good people, people she loved, were suffering because of it. But giving up felt wrong too. If they gave up now, Benjamin would win. He would learn that he could keep being cruel forever and no one would ever stop him. He would destroy more businesses, hurt more people, make more workers cry. No, Isabella said. Everyone looked at her. No, she repeated, stronger this time. We're not giving up. We're going to fight back. James shook his head. Sweetheart, we can't. Yes, we can. We have to. Because if we don't, he'll just do this to someone else. And then someone else. And then someone else. He'll keep being a bully forever because no one has the courage to stand up to him. Courage doesn't pay lawyers, James said sadly. Then we'll find another way. Isabella pulled out her phone. That video of what happened on Tuesday, someone recorded it and posted it online. Maybe we can use that. Maybe we can tell people what Benjamin is really like. Maybe if enough people know the truth, someone will help us. Lucas pushed his glasses up. Actually, that video has been shared a lot. I saw it this morning. Thousands of people have watched it. See, Isabella said. People care about this. They care about fairness. They care about bullies getting stopped. Priscilla looked at James. She might be right, James. What do we have to lose at this point? James was quiet for a long moment. Then he let out a long, tired breath. Everything. We have everything to lose. But. He looked at his daughter. But maybe losing while fighting is better than giving up without a fight. So we fight? Isabella asked. James nodded slowly. We fight. I don't know how and I don't know if we can win, but we fight. That same evening, Benjamin Martin sat in his enormous office on the 20th floor of the tallest building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the whole city spread out below him like a game board. His assistant, Kevin Williams, stood nervously by the door. The supply company has cut off their coffee beans, Kevin reported. The landlord has agreed to double their rent. The lawsuit papers have been delivered. And I've hired investigators to look into James Thompson's finances. They should have a report by Monday. Benjamin nodded, staring out the window. Good. What about the daughter? Isabella? The investigators are looking into her background too. School records, social media, everything. Excellent. Benjamin turned around. I want you to send a message to every business owner on Maple Street. Tell them if they support the cafe in any way, if they send them customers, if they speak well of them, if they help them at all, I'll remember it. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Sir, that's That might be seen as intimidation. I don't care what it's seen as. Just do it. Mr. Martin. Kevin hesitated. Sir, I've worked for you for 7 years. I've always done what you asked. But this feels different. That cafe hasn't done anything wrong. The waitress embarrassed me. Benjamin's voice rose sharply. She made me look like a fool in front of everyone. And now there's a video of it online. Do you know how many people have sent me that video? How many people are laughing at me? But sir. No. Benjamin slammed his hand on his desk. I built my reputation on being someone people fear. Someone they respect. That girl destroyed that in 30 seconds. If I let this go, everyone will think they can talk to me that way. Every waiter, every clerk, every nobody will think they can disrespect me. Kevin was quiet for a moment. Is that what this is really about? Respect? Or is it about revenge? Benjamin's eyes narrowed dangerously. Watch yourself, Kevin. I'm sorry, sir. I've watched you destroy businesses before. I've watched you hurt people. And I've always told myself they deserved it somehow, that they had wronged you. But this time, Kevin took a breath. This time you're the one who was wrong. You were being cruel to those workers. The waitress was right to call you out. The office went deadly quiet. Benjamin walked slowly toward Kevin. Are you taking their side? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just saying. You work for me. You're loyal to me. If you can't do that, then leave. Kevin looked at Benjamin, really looked at him. He saw the anger in his boss's eyes, but he also saw something else. Something desperate and empty. Mr. Martin, Kevin said quietly, why are you so angry? You have everything. Money, power, success. Why does one waitress's words hurt you so much? For just a second, something flickered across Benjamin's face. Something that looked almost like pain. But then it was gone, replaced by cold fury. Get out of my office, Benjamin said in a low, dangerous voice. Kevin nodded slowly. He turned and walked to the door. But before he left, he said one more thing. You're crossing lines you shouldn't cross, sir. Legal lines. Moral lines. I hope you know what you're doing. Then he left, closing the door softly behind him. Benjamin stood alone in his enormous office, surrounded by expensive furniture and awards and certificates that proved how successful he was. But in that moment he felt something he rarely felt. He felt alone. Completely, utterly alone. His chest hurt. His heart was beating too fast. He took a deep breath, but the feeling didn't go away. The anger, the stress, the obsession with destroying the cafe, it was all building up inside him like a pressure cooker about to explode. But he pushed the feeling down. He had work to do. He had a cafe to destroy. And nothing, not Kevin's warnings, not his own discomfort, not anything, was going to stop him. 2 weeks passed and things got worse. Much worse. The cafe's coffee supplier never came back. James had to buy coffee beans from a grocery store, and they cost twice as much and didn't taste as good. Customers noticed and some stopped coming. The doubled rent was due at the end of the month. James counted the money in the cafe's bank account every night, trying to make the numbers work. But no matter how many times he added and subtracted, there wasn't enough. Not even close. The lawsuit hung over everything like a dark cloud. $50,000. The number kept running through James's mind when he tried to sleep at night. Isabella watched her father grow more tired, more worried, more defeated with each passing day. She tried to stay positive, tried to encourage everyone, but it was getting harder. On a rainy Tuesday morning, exactly 3 weeks after Isabella had stood up to Benjamin, something happened that made everything even worse. Isabella arrived at the cafe early to help her father open up. But when she got there, she found James sitting at a table in the dark, staring at a piece of paper. Dad? Why didn't you turn the lights on? James didn't answer. He just kept staring at the paper. Isabella flipped the light switch and walked over to him. Dad, what's wrong? Slowly, James handed her the paper. It was from the bank. A letter saying that James's loan, the loan he'd taken out last year to keep the cafe running, was being called in. That meant the bank wanted all the money back. Now, all $15,000. They can't do this, Isabella said, reading the letter again. You've been making your payments on time. They can't just. Benjamin has connections at the bank, James said in a flat, empty voice. He must have called in a favor. Asked them to pressure me. Isabella felt anger rising in her chest. That's not legal. It doesn't matter what's legal anymore, Isabella. Nothing matters. We're finished. Dad, don't say that. I'm closing the cafe. James's voice was quiet but final. Today. Right now. Before we lose any more money. Before the bank takes my house. Before we end up with nothing at all. No. Isabella grabbed her father's hands. Dad, please. We can't give up now. We've come so far. We haven't come anywhere except closer to being destroyed. James pulled his hands away and stood up. I'm done, Isabella. I'm tired. I'm beaten. Benjamin Martin wins. That's just how it is. The door opened and Priscilla came in, shaking rain from her umbrella. She took one look at their faces and knew something terrible had happened. What's going on? James is closing the cafe, Isabella said, tears in her eyes. Priscilla's face fell. James, no. I have to, Priscilla. I can't keep fighting. I don't have any fight left. Clara and Lucas arrived next and James had to tell them the news too. Clara started crying. Lucas just stood there, looking shocked, pushing his glasses up over and over like he always did when he was nervous. What about us? Lucas asked quietly. Where will we work? I'll give you all good references, James said. I'll help you find new jobs. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I failed you all. You didn't fail us, Priscilla said, wiping her eyes. Benjamin Martin did this. Not you. It doesn't matter who did it. It's done. James walked to the door and flipped the sign from closed to open one last time. Let's get through today. Tomorrow I'll start the paperwork to close everything down. The morning was quiet and sad. Only a few customers came in and the staff moved around like ghosts, barely talking. Isabella felt like her heart was breaking. This was all her fault. If she had just kept her mouth shut 3 weeks ago, none of this would be happening. Her father would still have his cafe. Priscilla, Clara, and Lucas would still have their jobs. Everything would be fine. At around 11 o'clock, the bell above the door jingled. Everyone looked up. And there, standing in the doorway like he owned the place, was Benjamin Martin. He was smiling. Actually smiling. It was a cold, cruel smile that didn't reach his eyes. Good morning, Benjamin said, walking to his usual table, table 3 by the window. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Benjamin sat down and looked around the cafe. It's quite empty in here today. Business must be slow. His voice dripped with fake sympathy. How unfortunate. James walked over slowly. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides, but his voice was controlled. What do you want, Mr. Martin? What I always want. Coffee. Black. And a bagel toasted. We both know you're not here for coffee, James interrupted. You came to gloat. To see us suffering. Well, congratulations. You win. We're closing down. Are you happy now? Benjamin's smile grew wider. Closing down? My. That is unfortunate. All because you couldn't train your staff to show proper respect. Isabella stepped forward. She couldn't help herself. Respect? You don't know the meaning of that word. You've never respected anyone in your entire life. Isabella, don't, James started, but she ignored him. You're a bully. Isabella continued, her voice shaking with emotion. You use your money to hurt people. You destroy lives because it makes you feel powerful. But you know what? Deep down, you're just a sad, lonely, angry man who has nothing real in his life. No friends. No one who actually cares about you. Just money. And money can't buy happiness, Mr. Martin. It can't buy peace. It can't buy a good night's sleep or a clear conscience. The cafe was completely silent. Benjamin's smile disappeared. His face went red, then almost purple. He stood up so fast his chair fell over backward with a loud crash. How dare you, he shouted. You little. But he didn't finish his sentence. Suddenly Benjamin gasped. His hand went to his chest. His eyes went wide with shock and pain. Mr. Martin? James said, the anger leaving his voice. Are you okay? Benjamin tried to speak but couldn't. He gasped again, his face twisting in agony. His other hand grabbed the edge of the table, but his legs were wobbling. Oh my God, Clara whispered. I think he's having a heart attack. Benjamin collapsed. He fell hard onto the cafe floor, his body hitting the ground with a terrible thud. He lay there, gasping, his hands still clutching his chest. For a moment, everyone just stood frozen in shock. Then Priscilla screamed, Someone call 911. Lucas grabbed his phone and ran to the corner, dialing frantically. James started toward Benjamin, but he didn't know what to do. Mr. Martin? Can you hear me? Benjamin's lips were turning blue. His eyes were rolling back. He was dying right there on the cafe floor. And everyone just stood there, scared and helpless. Everyone except Isabella. Something clicked in Isabella's mind. She remembered the CPR class she'd taken in college. It had been required for her business degree, basic first aid and emergency response. She dropped to her knees beside Benjamin. "Dad, help me turn him on his back," she said urgently. "Isabella, what are you? Just help me." Together they rolled Benjamin onto his back. Isabella tilted his head back to open his airway, checked for breathing. He wasn't, and then placed her hands on his chest. "What are you doing?" Clara asked, her voice high with panic. "CPR," Isabella said. Then she started pressing down on Benjamin's chest. Art. Fast. Counting in her head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She had practiced this on a dummy in class, but doing it on a real person, on a person who was actually dying, was completely different. His chest felt different. The responsibility felt crushing. 15, 16, 17. "The ambulance is coming," Lucas shouted from across the cafe. They said 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That was too long. If Isabella stopped doing CPR, Benjamin would die before they arrived. 28, 29, 30. Isabella tilted Benjamin's head back again, pinched his nose, and gave him 2 rescue breaths. Then back to chest compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her arms were already getting tired. Sweat dripped down her face. But she kept going. "You can do it, Isabella," Priscilla said softly, kneeling beside her. "You're doing great." 15, 16, 17. Isabella looked down at Benjamin's face. The man who had tried to destroy her father. The man who had made Priscilla cry. The man who had threatened to take everything from them. She could stop. She could just stop pressing and let him die. No one would blame her. He was a terrible person. The world might even be better without him. But even as the thought crossed her mind, Isabella knew she could never do that. Because she wasn't like him. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't heartless. And she wasn't going to let someone die, even if that someone was her enemy. 28, 29, 30. 2 more breaths. 1, 2, 3. "Come on," Isabella whispered. "Come on, Mr. Martin. Breathe. Please breathe." 15, 16, 17. The door burst open and paramedics rushed in with equipment and a stretcher. "We've got it from here," one of them said, gently moving Isabella aside. Isabella collapsed backward, her arms shaking from exhaustion. Clara helped her to a chair while the paramedics worked on Benjamin. They used a defibrillator, those paddles that give an electric shock to the heart. Benjamin's whole body jerked. Nothing. They tried again. This time Benjamin gasped. His eyes fluttered open. He was breathing. "We've got a pulse," one paramedic said. "Let's get him to the hospital. Now." They loaded Benjamin onto the stretcher and rushed him out to the ambulance. The sirens wailed as they drove away, getting quieter and quieter until they disappeared completely. The cafe was silent again. Isabella sat in her chair, staring at her hands. They were still shaking. James knelt down beside his daughter and pulled her into a tight hug. "You saved his life," he whispered. "Isabella, you saved his life." "I know," Isabella said quietly. She didn't feel like a hero. She just felt tired. "I know." Priscilla brought her a glass of water. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen." "It was the right thing," Isabella said, taking a sip. "Even if he is who he is, I couldn't just let him die." Lucas sat down at the table with them. "So what happens now?" Nobody had an answer to that question. Benjamin Martin, the man who had tried to destroy them all, was alive because of Isabella. What would he do with this second chance at life? Would he change? Or would he come back even angrier than before? 3 days passed. 3 days of waiting and wondering. The cafe stayed open, though James still talked about closing it down. They hadn't heard anything from Benjamin or his lawyers. It was like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Isabella couldn't stop thinking about those moments on the cafe floor, pressing down on Benjamin's chest, breathing air into his lungs, fighting to keep him alive. She had nightmares about it. In her dreams she would press and press, but Benjamin wouldn't wake up. She would fail and he would die, and somehow it would be her fault. But he hadn't died. He was alive. Somewhere in a hospital bed, Benjamin Martin was alive because of her. On Thursday afternoon, Isabella's phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello? Is this Isabella Thompson?" a man's voice asked. "Yes, this is she. This is Kevin Williams. I'm Mr. Martin's assistant. I wanted to call and thank you. The doctor said if you hadn't done CPR, Mr. Martin would have died before the ambulance arrived. You saved his life." Isabella didn't know what to say. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Kevin said quietly. "Most people wouldn't have. Especially not after everything he did to you and your father. That took that took real courage and kindness. There was a pause. How is he? Isabella found herself asking. He's awake. Stable. The doctors say he had a massive heart attack. His heart was very weak. They had to do emergency surgery. He's going to be in the hospital for at least another week, maybe 2. Oh. Isabella? Kevin's voice changed, became more serious. Mr. Martin wants to see you. Isabella's heart jumped. What? Why? He won't tell me. He just keeps saying he needs to talk to you. To thank you personally. Kevin paused. You don't have to go. I know he's hurt you and your family terribly. But I think something changed in him. When he woke up and I told him what you did, he cried. He cried? Isabella couldn't imagine Benjamin Martin crying. I've worked for him for 7 years and I've never seen him cry. Not once. But when I told him you saved his life, the same person he was trying to destroy, he broke down. I think maybe almost dying made him see things differently. Isabella thought about it. Part of her didn't want to see Benjamin ever again. But another part of her was curious. Could a person like Benjamin really change? Which hospital? She asked. That evening, Isabella took the bus to St. Mary's Hospital downtown. It was a tall building with lots of windows and a big lobby that smelled like cleaning supplies and flowers. She asked at the front desk for Benjamin Martin's room number. The nurse looked at her strangely, probably wondering why a young woman in simple clothes was visiting one of the richest men in the city, but gave her the information. Room 847. 8th floor. Isabella took the elevator up, her stomach feeling nervous and fluttery. She didn't know what she was going to say. She didn't even know why she came. The elevator doors opened and she walked down a long hallway with shiny floors and fluorescent lights. Room 847 was at the end. She knocked softly. Come in, a weak voice said. Isabella opened the door slowly. Benjamin Martin lay in the hospital bed, looking nothing like the powerful, scary man she'd known. He wore a plain hospital gown. Wires connected him to machines that beeped softly. And 4 drip ran into his arm. His face was pale and thin. His slick back hair was messy. He looked small and fragile and old. When he saw Isabella, his eyes filled with tears. You came, he said, his voice hoarse. Isabella stood in the doorway, not sure if she should come closer. Your assistant said you wanted to see me. Please, Benjamin gestured weakly to a chair beside the bed. Please sit down. Isabella walked over slowly and sat in the chair, keeping some distance between them. They were quiet for a moment. The machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone laughed. I don't know how to do this, Benjamin finally said. I don't know how to apologize. I've spent my whole life never apologizing for anything. Never admitting I was wrong. Never showing weakness. He looked at Isabella with red, watery eyes. But I was wrong. About everything. Isabella didn't say anything. She just listened. The doctors told me I was minutes from death, Benjamin continued. Minutes? And do you know what I thought about in those last moments before I blacked out? What? Nothing. I thought about nothing. No happy memories. No loved ones. No accomplishments I was proud of. Just emptiness. A tear rolled down his cheek. I'm 50 years old, and when I faced death, I realized I had nothing worth remembering. No one who would miss me. No one whose life I'd made better. Just nothing. He wiped his eyes with a shaky hand. And then Kevin told me what you did. That you, the person I tried to destroy, the person I threatened and attacked and hurt, you got down on your knees and saved my life. You could have let me die. You probably should have let me die. But you didn't. Isabella's own eyes were getting wet. I couldn't just watch someone die. Why not? I would have. Benjamin's voice cracked. If it had been you on that floor, I would have stood there and done nothing. I know I would have. Because that's the kind of person I am. I don't know anymore. He looked at the ceiling, more tears streaming down his face. I've spent my entire life building walls, Benjamin said quietly. Walls of money and power and fear. I thought those walls made me strong. I thought they protected me. But they didn't. They just made me alone. So completely, terribly alone. Mr. Martin. Benjamin? He interrupted. Please. Call me Benjamin. I think I've lost the right to demand titles and respect. Isabella nodded. Benjamin, why did you become like this? When did you start being so mean to people? Benjamin was quiet for a long time. Then he began to talk. When I was young, your age maybe, I was nobody. I grew up poor. My father left when I was 5. My mother worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. I got bullied at school because my clothes were old and torn. I had nothing. He paused, remembering. I promised myself I would never be powerless again. Never be weak again. So I worked. I studied. I built a business from nothing. I made money. Lots of it. And somewhere along the way I learned that money gave me power. And power meant I could make sure no one ever hurt me again. But you started hurting others instead, Isabella said softly. Yes. Benjamin's voice was barely a whisper. I became the bully I used to fear. I became the person I hated. And I told myself it was okay because they deserved it, because I was better than them, because I had earned the right to treat people however I wanted. He looked directly at Isabella. But I was wrong. About everything. Money didn't protect me. It isolated me. Power didn't make me safe. It made me cruel. And in the end, when my heart stopped beating, all that money and power meant nothing. The only thing that mattered was the kindness of a waitress I'd tried to destroy. Isabella felt tears running down her own cheeks now. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Benjamin said. I don't deserve anyone's forgiveness. But I need you to know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to you, to your father, to everyone at the cafe. I'm sorry for the years I spent hurting people. I'm sorry for being a monster. You're not a monster, Isabella heard herself say. Monsters can't change. People can. Benjamin looked at her with such hope and sadness in his eyes that it broke her heart. Can I? He asked. Can I really change? After everything I've done? After all the people I've hurt? Isabella thought about it carefully. She thought about her father's tears. About Priscilla crying. About all the businesses Benjamin had destroyed over the years. About the pain he'd caused. But she also thought about second chances. About forgiveness. About the fact that people weren't just one thing, not all good or all bad, but complicated and messy and capable of growing. I think, Isabella said slowly, that anyone can change if they really want to. If they're willing to do the hard work of becoming better. But words aren't enough, Benjamin. Being sorry isn't enough. You have to actually change your actions. I will, Benjamin said urgently. I swear I will. I'll drop the lawsuit. I'll stop the inspections. I'll leave your cafe alone. Oh. It's not just about us, Isabella interrupted gently. It's about everyone. All the people you've hurt over the years. All the businesses you destroyed. If you really want to change, you need to make things right with all of them. Benjamin nodded, more tears falling. You're right. You're absolutely right. I will. I'll spend the rest of my life making things right. However long that is. The machines beeped softly in the quiet room. The doctors say my heart is very damaged, Benjamin said. Even with surgery, I might not have much time left. Maybe a few years if I'm lucky. Maybe less. Then you'd better not waste whatever time you have, Isabella said. Benjamin smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. It was the first time Isabella had ever seen him smile like a regular person, not with cruelty or sarcasm, but with actual warmth. You're wise, he said. Much wiser than I ever was at your age. Than I am even now. Isabella stood up. I should go. You need to rest. Isabella, wait. Benjamin reached out his hand, not demanding or commanding, but asking, hoping. Isabella hesitated, then took his hand. It felt thin and weak, nothing like the powerful grip she'd imagined. Thank you, Benjamin whispered. Not just for saving my life. For showing me that there's still good in the world. That kindness exists even when it's not deserved. You gave me something more valuable than my life. You gave me hope that I can become a better person. Isabella squeezed his hand gently. Then don't waste it. She let go and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back. Benjamin, real change is hard. It takes time. And some people won't forgive you no matter what you do. Are you ready for that? Benjamin nodded. I am. I have to be. Because the alternative, staying the person I was, that's not living. That's just existing in a prison of my own making. Isabella gave him a small smile and left. As she rode the elevator down and walked out into the cool evening air, she felt something shift inside her. She didn't know if Benjamin would really change. Talk was easy. Actions were hard. But for the first time she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, something good could come from all of this pain. Maybe even monsters could learn to be human again. The next morning, James received a phone call that changed everything. He was at the cafe, going through bills and trying to figure out which ones he could pay and which ones would have to wait when his phone rang. Hello? Mr. Thompson? This is Marcus Jackson from Jackson Harrison and Associates. I'm Benjamin Martin's attorney. James's stomach dropped. Here it comes, he thought. More legal threats. More demands. Yes. James said cautiously. Mr. Martin has instructed me to withdraw the lawsuit against you and your cafe. All claims are being dropped, effective immediately. You will face no legal action from him. James was so shocked he almost dropped the phone. What? I don't understand. Additionally, Mr. Martin has asked me to draft formal letters to the health department, fire marshal, and building inspectors, admitting that he used his influence to target your business unfairly. He's also contacting your landlord and suppliers to reverse any pressure he applied. Is this some kind of trick? No trick, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Martin was very clear. He wants to make things right. You should receive confirmation letters by the end of the week. After the lawyer hung up, James just sat there staring at his phone like it might explode. Isabella came out from the kitchen. Dad? Who was that? You look like you've seen a ghost. Benjamin's dropping the lawsuit, James said in a daze. All of it. He's undoing everything he did to us. Really? Isabella felt a flutter of hope in her chest. His lawyer said we'd get it all in writing by the end of the week. Priscilla, who had been listening from behind the counter, let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. Thank God. Oh, thank God. But James still looked worried. This doesn't fix everything. We've already lost customers. We've spent money we didn't have fixing violations. The damage is done. But at least it stops getting worse, Isabella said. That's something, Dad. That's a start. 2 days later, on Saturday morning, Kevin Williams walked into the cafe carrying a large envelope. Mr. Thompson? He said, approaching the counter where James was making coffee. James looked up and recognized Benjamin's assistant. He tensed. What do you want? I have something from Mr. Martin. Kevin set the envelope on the counter. He asked me to deliver this personally. James stared at the envelope like it might bite him. What is it? Open it. James opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a check. His hands started shaking when he saw the amount. $25,000. What is this? James stammered. Mr. Martin calculated all the money you lost because of his actions, Kevin explained. Lost business, inspection fees, the cost of fixing violations, legal consultations, everything. He asked his accountants to come up with a fair number. That's what they calculated. Isabella came over and looked at the check. Her eyes went wide. It's not a gift, Kevin said quickly. Mr. Martin was very clear about that. He's not trying to buy forgiveness. This is compensation for actual damages he caused. He considers it a debt he owes. James sat down heavily in a nearby chair, still staring at the check. I can't believe this. There's more. Kevin reached into his jacket and pulled out several more envelopes. These are for your employees. Compensation for the emotional distress they suffered. $1,000 each for Priscilla, Clara, and Lucas. Priscilla had tears running down her face. He's really doing this? He's really trying to make things right. He is, Kevin said. And between you and me, I've never seen anything like it. I've worked for Benjamin Martin for 7 years and I've watched him hurt so many people. I never thought he was capable of. He paused, struggling to find the words. Of being human. Of caring. But something changed in that hospital. Something fundamental. It was Isabella, James said quietly, looking at his daughter. She showed him what real strength looks like. What real courage looks like. Kevin nodded. She saved more than his life that day. I think she saved his soul. 1 week later, Benjamin was released from the hospital. The doctors told him he needed to rest, take his medications, exercise gently, and avoid stress. Most importantly, they told him he needed to change his entire lifestyle. Your heart is weak, Mr. Martin, Dr. Patterson had said. Another attack like this one and you might not survive. You need to slow down. Stop working so hard. Stop getting angry all the time. Find peace or... He didn't need to finish the sentence. Benjamin understood. Kevin drove him home to his enormous mansion. A huge house with 12 bedrooms, an indoor pool, a home theater, and more space than one person could ever need. Benjamin walked through the front door and looked around at all his expensive furniture, his original paintings on the walls, his crystal chandeliers. Everything in the house cost a fortune. And it all felt empty. He walked from room to room, his footsteps echoing in the vast, silent spaces. No family photos on the walls. No signs that anyone actually lived here. Just expensive things arranged in expensive rooms. This isn't a home, Benjamin said quietly to himself. It's a museum. A cold, empty museum. He went up to his bedroom, a massive room with a king-sized bed, a balcony overlooking the city, and a bathroom bigger than most people's kitchens. He opened his closet. Row after row of expensive suits stared back at him. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. When did I become this person? He whispered. That night, Benjamin couldn't sleep. He lay in his huge bed in his huge room in his huge house, feeling more alone than he'd ever felt in his entire life. He thought about Isabella's question. Are you ready for real change? Was he? The next morning, Benjamin called Kevin to his house. I need you to help me with something, Benjamin said when Kevin arrived. Of course, sir. What do you need? I want to sell everything. Kevin blinked. I'm sorry, what? This house. My cars. My art collection. All of it. I want to sell it all. Sir, I don't think you should make major decisions right after a heart attack. Maybe wait a few months. No, Benjamin said firmly. I've wasted enough time already. The doctor said I might only have a few years left. I'm not spending them living in a tomb surrounded by things that don't matter. But where will you live? I'll find a small apartment. Something normal. Something real. Benjamin looked around at his mansion. Kevin, I've been so focused on building an empire that I forgot to build a life. I want to change that. Kevin studied his boss carefully. You're really serious about this? I am. What will you do with all the money from selling everything? Benjamin smiled, that new genuine smile that still looked strange on his face. I have an idea about that too. But first, I need to do something else. Something important. What's that? I need to talk to James Thompson. In person. And I need to ask him for something that might be the hardest thing I've ever asked for. The next Tuesday morning, exactly 1 month after Isabella had stood up to him, Benjamin walked into Aroma Coffee Kitchen. The bell above the door jingled. Everyone froze. James was behind the counter. Priscilla was carrying muffins from the kitchen. Clara and Lucas were wiping tables. Isabella was taking an order from a customer. They all stared at Benjamin. He looked different. He wasn't wearing one of his expensive suits. Instead, he wore simple pants and a plain button-up shirt. His hair wasn't slicked back. He looked ordinary. Human. Benjamin said, his voice quiet and humble. I'm not here to cause trouble. I need to talk to James. If he's willing. James exchanged a glance with Isabella. She nodded slightly. Okay, James said cautiously. We can talk. They sat at a table in the corner. Ironically, not table 3 where Benjamin used to sit, but a different table. A fresh start. Benjamin folded his hands on the table. They were shaking slightly. I don't know how to begin, he said. The beginning is usually a good place, James said, his voice neither friendly nor hostile. Just careful. I'm dying, Benjamin said bluntly. Maybe not tomorrow or next month, but soon. My heart is badly damaged. The doctors give me a few years if I'm lucky. Maybe less. I'm sorry to hear that, James said, and he meant it. Don't be. I deserve it. I spent 50 years being angry and cruel and destructive. My heart gave out because I filled it with poison. Benjamin looked James in the eye. But I have a little bit of time left. And I want to use it differently. I want to spend whatever time I have left trying to repair some of the damage I've caused. The compensation money was a good start, James admitted. It's not enough. Money can fix some things but not everything. Benjamin took a deep breath. James, I'm selling everything I own. My house, my cars, my company, all of it. I'm taking all that money and starting a foundation. A foundation to help people who've been abused by their bosses, by wealthy people who think they can treat workers like garbage. I want to help the people I used to be like. James looked surprised. That's actually a wonderful idea. But I can't do it alone. I don't know how to help people. I only know how to hurt them. I need someone to run this foundation. Someone with integrity. Someone who understands what it's like to be on the receiving end of workplace abuse. Someone people will trust. Benjamin paused. I want that person to be your daughter. Isabella. James's eyes widened. What? I want Isabella to be the executive director of the foundation. She'll have complete control. She'll decide who gets help, how the money is spent, everything. I'll provide the funding, but she'll be in charge. Why Isabella? James asked. Because she's everything I'm not, Benjamin said simply. She's kind. She's brave. She stands up for what's right even when it costs her. She saved my life when she should have let me die. She's exactly the kind of person this foundation needs. James sat back in his chair processing this. That's a big responsibility. I know. And I'm not expecting an answer right now. But please ask her to think about it. Benjamin stood up slowly. There's one more thing I need to ask you. This one is even harder. What is it? Benjamin looked down at his hands, then back at James. I want to learn how to work. Real work. Honest work. I spent my whole life sitting in offices, ordering people around, pushing papers. I don't know what it's like to actually serve people, to help people, to do the kind of work that makes a difference in someone's day. He took a deep breath. James, I'm asking you to let me work here. At the cafe. As a volunteer. I'll clean bathrooms. I'll wash dishes. I'll take out trash. Whatever you need. I need to learn what it means to be a decent person. And I think working here with you and your team might teach me that. James was so shocked he couldn't speak for a moment. You want to work here? He finally said. After everything you did to try to destroy this place? I know it sounds crazy. I know you have every reason to say no. But I'm asking anyway. Benjamin's voice cracked. Please. Give me a chance to learn. Give me a chance to be better. James looked across the cafe at his daughter. Isabella had been watching the whole conversation from a distance. He raised his eyebrows at her, asking silently what she thought. Isabella walked over to their table. I heard what you said, she told Benjamin. About the foundation. About wanting to work here. And? Benjamin asked, hope and fear in his eyes. I think. Isabella paused, choosing her words carefully. I think everyone deserves a second chance. But second chances have to be earned, Benjamin. They're not given freely. I understand. If you work here, you'll be treated like anyone else. No special treatment. No cutting corners. You'll do the hard jobs, the dirty jobs, the jobs that nobody wants to do. And if you slip back into being cruel or arrogant even once, you're out. Do you understand? I understand. Isabella looked at her father. Dad, it's your cafe. It's your decision. James thought about it. He thought about all the pain Benjamin had caused. He thought about the fear, the stress, the nights he couldn't sleep. But he also thought about forgiveness. About second chances. About the fact that people could change if they really wanted to. Okay, James finally said. You can work here. On a trial basis. But I have conditions. Anything, Benjamin said quickly. First, you start at the bottom. The very bottom. Cleaning bathrooms, taking out trash, washing dishes. Yes. Second, you see a therapist. You need to work through whatever made you so angry at the world. Benjamin nodded. Already scheduled my first appointment. Third, one mistake, one flash of your old attitude and you're done. No second chances after your second chance. I understand. James stood up and extended his hand. Then welcome to Aroma Coffee Kitchen. You start tomorrow at 6 in the morning. Don't be late. Benjamin stood and shook James's hand. Tears ran down his face. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this chance. I won't waste it. I promise. As Benjamin left the cafe, everyone watched in stunned silence. Did that really just happen? Lucas asked, pushing his glasses up. I think so, Clara said. Priscilla walked over to James and Isabella. Are you too sure about this? Can we trust him? No, James said honestly. We can't trust him. Not yet. Trust has to be earned. But. He looked at his daughter. But if we never give people a chance to change, how will they ever be better? Isabella smiled at her father. When did you become so wise? I learned it from my daughter, James said, pulling Isabella into a hug. Outside, Benjamin got into his car, one of the last fancy things he still owned. But he didn't drive home to his mansion. Instead, he drove to a small apartment building he'd been looking at. A modest one-bedroom apartment that cost a fraction of what his mansion did. He looked up at the building and smiled. For the first time in decades, Benjamin Martin felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt hope. The next morning, Benjamin Martin arrived at Aroma Coffee Kitchen at exactly 6 o'clock. He wore old jeans and a plain t-shirt, clothes he'd bought specifically for this job. He'd never owned clothes this simple before. They felt strange. Freeing. James was already inside, setting up for the day. Good morning, Benjamin said quietly. James looked up. For a moment, he just studied Benjamin as if trying to decide if this was real or some kind of elaborate trick. Morning, James finally said. Ready to work? I am. Good. Follow me. James led Benjamin to a small storage closet at the back of the cafe. Inside were cleaning supplies. Mops, buckets, spray bottles, rubber gloves. First job of the day is cleaning the bathrooms, James said. They need to be spotless before we open at 7. Think you can handle that? Benjamin looked at the supplies. In his old life, he would have been insulted. He would have shouted that he was Benjamin Martin, that he didn't clean toilets, that this was beneath him. But that was the old Benjamin. The one who almost died alone and afraid. "I can handle it," he said. James handed him rubber gloves and a bucket. "Then get to work." For the next hour, Benjamin scrubbed toilets. He mopped floors. He cleaned mirrors until they sparkled. He wiped down sinks and counters. It was hard work. His back hurt. His knees ached from kneeling. His hands got wrinkled from being in water so long. But there was something peaceful about it. Something honest. He was doing real work. Work that mattered. Work that helped people, even if it was in a small way. When he finished, James came to inspect. He checked every corner, every surface. Benjamin held his breath, waiting for criticism. "Good job," James said simply. "Now come help Priscilla in the kitchen. She needs someone to wash dishes." And so Benjamin's new life began. The first few weeks were hard. Benjamin made mistakes. He dropped plates. He forgot orders. He mopped the floor wrong and had to do it over again. But he never complained. He never got angry. He just apologized and tried to do better. The cafe staff watched him carefully, waiting for him to snap, to return to being the cruel man they remembered. But it never happened. Slowly, very slowly, they began to trust him. Priscilla was the first to warm up to him. One morning, when Benjamin was washing dishes, she said, "You're getting better at this." Benjamin looked up, surprised. "Thank you. I mean it. When you started, you were terrible." She smiled. "Now you're just below average." Benjamin laughed. Really laughed, not the cold, mocking laugh of his old life, but a warm, genuine laugh. "I'll take it." Lucas was next. He started showing Benjamin how to use the cash register, how to take orders properly, how to make simple coffee drinks. "You're actually not bad at this," Lucas said one afternoon, pushing his glasses up. "For a beginner." "High praise," Benjamin said with a smile. Clara took the longest to come around. She remembered too clearly how Benjamin had made her shake with fear, how he'd threatened her job, her livelihood. But one day, when Benjamin stayed late to help her finish cleaning up, she said quietly, "You really have changed, haven't you?" Benjamin stopped mopping and looked at her. "I'm trying. Every single day I'm trying." "I can see that," Clara said. "And I want you to know that I forgive you. For everything." Benjamin felt tears sting his eyes. "Thank you. That means more than you know." While Benjamin worked at the cafe in the mornings, he spent his afternoons setting up the foundation. True to his word, he sold everything. His mansion sold for $3 million. His collection of luxury cars sold for another $500,000. His art collection, his jewelry, his fancy watches, all of it was sold. In total, Benjamin raised $7 million. He put it all into the foundation, which he named Second Chance. Isabella agreed to be the executive director, but only after finishing a special training program in nonprofit management. She wanted to do the job right. The foundation opened its doors 6 months after Benjamin's heart attack. Its mission was simple: to help workers who were being bullied, harassed, or abused by wealthy employers. The foundation provided free legal help, counseling services, and financial support to help people fight back against workplace abuse. Isabella ran it with the same integrity and courage she'd shown that day in the cafe. She hired a team of lawyers, therapists, and social workers. They helped dozens of people in the first month alone. Hundreds in the first year. And every person they helped, Isabella made sure to tell them the same thing. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. No matter who you are or how much money you have, you deserve respect. The foundation became exactly what Benjamin had hoped it would be, a force for good, helping the kind of people he used to hurt. 2 years passed. Benjamin continued working at the cafe every morning. He lived in his small apartment. He took the bus to work like everyone else. He made friends with regular customers, people who had no idea he used to be a millionaire. His therapist, Dr. Williams, helped him understand why he'd been so angry for so long. They worked through his childhood trauma, his fear of being powerless, his belief that money could protect him from pain. "You built a fortress around yourself," Dr. Williams told him one day. "But fortresses keep people out. They isolate you. Real strength isn't about building walls. It's about building bridges." Benjamin thought about that a lot. He started building bridges instead of walls. He reconciled with people he'd hurt over the years. He tracked down businesses he'd destroyed and offered financial help to rebuild. He wrote letters of apology to dozens of people. Some forgave him. Some didn't. He accepted both with grace. "I can't force people to forgive me," he told Isabella one day. "All I can do is prove through my actions that I've changed. The rest is up to them." One Tuesday morning, Exactly 2 years after the day Isabella first stood up to him, Benjamin arrived at the cafe to find everyone gathered around, smiling mysteriously. "What's going on?" he asked. "Come sit down," James said, gesturing to a table. Benjamin sat, confused. The whole cafe staff gathered around: James, Isabella, Priscilla, Clara, and Lucas. James pulled out a small box and handed it to Benjamin. "This is for you." Benjamin opened the box. Inside was a name tag like the ones all the cafe employees wore. But this one was special. It said, "Benjamin, Aroma Coffee Kitchen Family." Benjamin stared at it, his eyes filling with tears. "Family? You've been working here for 2 years," James said. "You've shown up every single day. You've worked hard. You've been kind to customers. You've helped all of us. You're not just an employee anymore. You're part of our family." Benjamin couldn't speak. He just held the name tag and cried, happy tears this time. Priscilla hugged him. Then Clara. Then Lucas. Then James. Then Isabella. "Thank you," Benjamin finally managed to say. "Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be human again. Thank you for proving that people can change," Isabella said. "You've inspired me, Benjamin. You've shown me that even when things seem hopeless, even when someone seems too far gone, there's always a chance for redemption." That afternoon, Benjamin and Isabella sat together at the cafe after the lunch rush, drinking coffee and talking about the foundation. "We helped our 500th person yesterday," Isabella said. 500 workers who were being abused by their bosses. 500 people who got justice because of the foundation. "Because of you," Benjamin corrected. "I just provided the money. You provided the heart." "We both did," Isabella said. "That's the point, isn't it? One person can't change the world alone. But when people work together, when they build bridges instead of walls, that's when real change happens." Benjamin smiled. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from someone who learned the hard way," Isabella said with a gentle smile. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the cafe bustle with activity. Customers chatted and laughed. Coffee machines hissed. Life happened all around them. "Isabella," Benjamin said quietly, "can I tell you something?" "Of course." 2 years ago, when I had that heart attack, the doctors told me I might only have a few years left. Maybe less." He paused. "Last week I went for a checkup. The doctors were amazed. They said my heart has gotten stronger. Much stronger. They said if I keep living the way I'm living, less stress, more purpose, more connection, I might have 10, 15, maybe even 20 more years." Isabella's face lit up. "Benjamin, that's wonderful." "It's because of all of you," Benjamin said, tears in his eyes again. "Before, my life was killing me. The anger, the isolation, the cruelty, it was literally destroying my heart. But now I have a reason to live. I have work that matters. I have friends. I have purpose. And that's healing me from the inside out." "You healed yourself," Isabella said. "You made the choice to change. That takes real courage." "You gave me the reason to be courageous," Benjamin said. "You showed me that kindness is stronger than cruelty. That compassion is stronger than power. That being human is better than being rich." He looked around the cafe, at the mismatched chairs, the faded paint, the old wooden tables. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't impressive. But it was real. It was home. "You know what I've learned?" Benjamin said. "What?" "Wealth isn't about what's in the bank. It's about respect, peace, and the people who choose to stand by you." Isabella smiled and put her hand on his shoulder. "Then yes, Benjamin. You've become truly wealthy. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.